How are you guys doing? This is Ryan. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the legend himself, Warren Buffett. And I really want to talk about, is Warren Buffett still a great investor? You know, going through this whole market crash and everything, I can't help but say, what is Mr. Buffett doing? Seeing a 38% correction in the stock market and seeing Berkshire Hathaway deploy so little capital, and not only that, to sell stocks during this time, it doesn't sound like Warren Buffett is being greedy when others are fearful. It sounds like he's being fearful while others are fearful. So this is going to be a very interesting video. I've done a lot of research back on Mr. Buffett and just trying to determine, should we follow Buffett philosophies like we normally do? Let's look back on his track record and see, why is he trailing the S&P 500 for 10 years plus now. So with that said, let's jump into the video. So Warren Buffett is the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway and is the most popular investor in the world, the third richest man in the world. And while holding chair of Berkshire Hathaway, he's been able to produce a 20% annual return since 1965. That's incredible. That actually doubles what the market has been able to do. The top 500 companies, the S&P 500, has only returned about 10%, so he's doubled the performance of the market, which is incredible. So if you put $1,000 into Berkshire Hathaway back in 1965 and just left it alone, that'd be worth $26 million today. That just shows how well Warren Buffett is at allocating capital and growing money over time, and no wonder he is the third richest man in the world, and simply just by buying companies with his value investing approach. And we're going to talk more about value investing in this video and exactly what is it. Warren Buffett actually says all investing is value investing, which I kind of agree with, but it seems as of lately value investing is not beating the market. And essentially what I mean by value investing is, if you use a resource like FinViz, a lot of value investors use price to book, and what that pretty much means is a stock trades at a valuation in the market, so its market cap, let's say it's $1 million, but this company actually has 1.5 million in actual assets. So you're able to buy that company in the stock market at $1 million, but according to value investors, it's actually underpriced because the company has more assets than what it actually trades for. And this, along with using what Mr. Buffett calls staying within his circle of competence. His circle of competence is something like Ted Williams used to talk about when he was playing baseball. There's a picture of a strike zone, and it would say Ted Williams' batting average is much higher when the ball is thrown here versus here. So Mr. Buffett actually credits a lot of his success as to staying within his circle of competence. The less competent you are in something, the worse you're gonna be. So with these tools and great track record of success, Warren Buffett has become an adored investor and a mentor to many people like myself. But I couldn't help myself scratching my head and wondering why it felt like Warren Buffett is actually contradicting his own philosophies. He says things like, if you're not willing to be in a stock for 10 years, don't even think about being in it for 10 minutes. But yet during this pandemic, we see him fleeing away from his airline stocks, which I find to be very interesting. And I also speculate not buying stocks during the major crash will actually cause Berkshire Hathaway to now continuously underperform the market over longer periods of time. And while Warren Buffett is a hero of mine, I can't really look at his investing style and say it's the best for me, and really for these reasons. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know that I believe that we are going into more of a tech boom than any kind of recession, and I just think we're going to see a lot of innovation and wealth occur within this country, which is very exciting. And I don't think value investing does a very good job at identifying tech stocks. Buffett has missed a lot of tech giants on their growth up. He's missed Google, Amazon, Facebook. He actually picked IBM over investing in Amazon. And then again last year we saw him invest in General Motors and not invest into Tesla. Both Amazon and Tesla are both disruptive companies, and this is not easy to identify by looking at value investing metrics. I will be making future videos on how to identify disruptive innovation technology, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel with the notification bell on. And if you're enjoying this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. But getting back to it, in the 20s we're going to see a lot of disruption occur and a lot of wealth created because of that. And when you only focus on things like price to book or price to earnings ratios, those are really lagging indicators. To really capitalize on huge growth and innovation, you have to be more forward thinking. I think looking at things like diffusions of innovations is actually a better indicator of how to make massive capital moving forward. And pretty much what that means is, when you see a new product or innovation, let's say electric cars now adopted 2% of market cap, that from there you see massive adoption occur after there. Like 2% is the threshold. That's just one example. So to be fair to Buffett, he's not necessarily not a great investor anymore, but for this time and period that we're going into, value investing may not be the right approach to make massive amounts of money. Also, it's very important to look at Berkshire Hathaway and the investments Warren Buffett does. And a big reason maybe you don't want to mirror him is because Berkshire Hathaway is so big. They're sitting on a cash pile of $130 billion, and their market cap is somewhere around $500 billion. They can really only buy really large companies without buying like the entire company. They have so much cash, where Buffett has actually said he can really only buy a few hundred companies. That's still a lot of companies. You can find some great companies. But when Berkshire Hathaway and Buffett was younger and they were more lean, they could buy smaller companies. And because of that, they could get a lot more growth because there was much more room for those companies to gain more market share and more adoption, and therefore create greater return for investors. So by Berkshire being so big right now, it actually lowers the upside potential for shareholders. So Berkshire buys a lot of big bank stocks or big companies like Apple, but they have their limitations. They cannot buy a company that's like a few $100 million or $1 billion. They really need to focus on much larger caps. I don't have anywhere near that amount of money, so I'll take a note from a younger Buffett when he had less money, and I will diversify into some smaller holdings that have more likelihood to grow more, because the markets they're growing into has more room for that company to take more market share. But who knows, is Warren Buffett right? Maybe is he looking for a better opportunity? Does he feel like we did not see the bottom in the market? Why is he holding on to so much cash? Let me know what you think down in the comment section. I feel like back in 2008, Buffett was buying stocks like they were free, and now we have this black swan event, and he's selling airline stocks, which brings me to my next point, that Buffett and Berkshire feel like that the airline industry has now fundamentally changed for the foreseeable future. That people won't fly as much, and there'll be too many planes that will not be occupied. I actually challenge this. I think rather than selling his airline stocks at a huge loss, he should have been buying them possibly, or there were so many other stocks to buy at that time. And the real reason I say that is because I think the airline industry is gonna grow a lot more. I think that people are gonna become so much wealthier the next decade that they're gonna fly more, they're gonna need to make more planes. And sure, some companies are at risk of going bankrupt, and maybe he should have sold those. I think you have to look at a probability standpoint that to sell at these prices that they're at right now, things are likely to get better, not worse. Like, things are really bad right now. To get worse from here, it seems like a very unlikely probability. But to get better from here, that actually seems very highly likely. And while I'm not betting the house on the airline stocks, Warren Buffett selling his airline stocks actually makes me want to buy more, because I like buying things when people are fearful, like the Warren Buffett quote I like to talk about all the time: be greedy when others are fearful. And that includes Warren Buffett, in my opinion. But who knows, I'm not the Oracle of Omaha, and I do have a lot of respect for Warren Buffett, but I think this conversation needs to be had, and someone has to say it. In times of market turmoil, I think it's really important for the system, for the investors to step in and deploy capital. Right now, the airline industries need investors, and I think it's time for investors to step up. And like Buffett said, never bet against America. And why would you allocate your money anywhere else right now to find yield when the government has printed so much money and there's no rate of interest to be returned anywhere else really but the stock market? I would really like to see him jump in some stocks and bet on America now, because the world needs you. Please let me know what great investments you made during the stock market crash, and do you think Warren Buffett deserves a little bit of criticism? And I'll end this video with a disclaimer: none of this is financial advice. These are just sheerly my opinions. Before you make any of your own investments, please make sure to do your own due diligence. Don't just blindly follow me, Warren Buffett, or your neighbor who's telling you some stock that's gonna get you rich overnight. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll see you guys in my next one.